Hello and welcome to another edition of the SportsHeads on Verge magazine. I am your host, Andre Dixon, hiding away from my children in my wardrobe. And so today, obviously, we've been rejoined by my normal gang of merry men, Sam Morgan, Chris Braithwaite, and Daniel Falui. How are you guys?
We're good.
We're good.
And today we've got a special guest, and it shows that the show's progression. Now we're dealing with the big boys now. We've got Nat Coombs from ESPN. How are you?
I was looking over my shoulder there.
Hello.
Good to be here. Good to be here, fellas. Good to be here.
Yeah,
you definitely win. You definitely win best backdrop. I mean, you're putting us to shame with that.
I'll tell you what, it's not bad. You don't want to see what's behind there, though. There's a lot of leather jackets and a lot of flared
leather
jeans.
Jackets
and Liverpool shirt.
Yes, you see.
No one needs to see.
Don't worry about it. We'll be bringing it out.
You need to find that.
It's always ready. It's always ready. It's always there.
That monstrosity.
Look at this as a brilliant dinner party. So flip that round. So you got John Aldridge, Michael Jordan, Kobe, and Aaron Rodgers.
John Aldridge,
I
I'll put you in amongst some serious company there.
Add Alex Ferguson, and then we got dinner party.
Oh, I see.
Then we got something right there.
So we've been taking the mick out of Nat for his serious bike get up behind there. We're all jealous because especially me. I definitely need to be using that same bike. So you can send it over here. I'll make good use of it.
It's made out of cardboard. It's just a prop.
It'll be
Virtual backdrop.
It'll be another coat rack as well. Yeah. But so as you guys know, we condense all of the news from American sports in 30 minutes as much as we possibly can. I'm here to keep these guys to make sure that they keep on time. So what we do is we'll start with the first subject, which is the Washington, formerly almost going to be known as the Washington Redskins. They've officially, since the last time we saw you guys, decided to actually retire the jersey. What's the matter with me? They've retired the name. So all these jerseys in the background. So they've decided to retire the actual name and then started to look on the process of looking for a new name. Obviously, we have loads of suggestions, and so do those people that have taken every single name under the sun, and they've registered it so they can make a bit of money. Well done to you guys. So I'll start off with our special guest, Nat. With them, obviously they retired the name. They're looking for a new one. Do you think this is a correct move? And then also, why do you think it took so long?
Well, that is a $64,000 question, right? And we'll come back to money because money is what has made this decision, I think, for Daniel Snyder. So let's start with that. The first year I started broadcasting NFL was 2007, right? And this was an issue then. This was an issue way before then. Why has this taken so long to happen? You've got to look at Daniel Snyder's statements about this over the years. He said to USA Today, "We'll never change the name. It's that simple. Never. You can use caps," he actually said as a quote from him. So that one's aged well. Look, money is the ultimate reason. Of course, the power of the sponsors is why this has happened. But at the same time, I think it is testament to how change can be affected even by one person, because one person with everything that's going on at the moment might think, what does my voice matter? How can my voice change anything? But if that one person didn't do something and you multiply that by tens of thousands and they don't go on marches, you don't make a point on social media, you don't get actively involved with this discussion, then things won't change, right? And one of the things that really frustrates me about this, that people who cite the surveys, I keep hearing this argument, look at the surveys that Native Americans don't find the Redskins an offensive term. It is an insult to all of the people, quite demonstrably, that have for so many years. And it's not even a question, the amount of activists that have campaigned so long for the removal of this, and not just Native American activists, but civil rights activists as well. It is, in no uncertain terms, an incredibly derogatory term. So why it's taken so long is frankly appalling, but let's accentuate the positives. It has happened now. It has happened. Change has happened. And the fact as well that, this is a nickname, and that's what it is, a team nickname. In the nation's capital, this is where, laws are made, where the Senate and Congress sits, and this is the team that has that. You've got to look at the history there as well with George Preston Marshall, who was responsible for the name, who was quite clearly incredibly prohibitive in terms of integration. The Kennedy administration had to step in and take care of that. He didn't want to integrate the team, and you got to look at whether it really makes a difference at the end of the day to the Redskins fans. At the end of the day, we're talking about a league where teams can relocate. They can relocate across the country and obliterate their history with that city. So does a team nickname matter that much? Certainly not, and certainly not in this situation. So look, sense has finally prevailed. If the cause of the reason, the catalyst for that was money, so be it. But it happened, and it's only a good thing for the league.
Sam, I saw you taking a nice, refreshing drink of water. I'll take it already. Let's go.
Through my Peloton bottle. It has taken far too long. And just echoing what obviously Nat has said, it is money. Money talks. And as soon as that started to affect anyone there, decisions were made. But yeah, it's taken a long time. It's good to see that it's actually finally happening. It would have been nice maybe for the fans to get a bit more say in what the next name was going to be, like narrow it down. And they may have actually got a bit of a positive spin off the back of it with the interaction on that piece. What I will say is, as I know you sort of celebrated it there slightly, Andre, but there has been a few savvy people that have gone and purchased some names. And it's crazy that has now happened. So I'd like to see whether that's going to have a knock-on effect for what they end up choosing, or if someone is actually going to end up making a bit of money off the back of it. But I think this will only be positive for them. It might actually attract more fans for them, and it actually could actually work out in their favour in a sense. But yeah, crazy how it has taken this long. And I noticed a few other organisations quaking in their boots a little bit, where they're now doing some research on how their names come about. So I don't think this will be the last time we are maybe discussing this sort of topic, and we might see this sort of continue. But I also don't want to have this complete cancel culture where we're just diving into things for the sake of it. We need to make sure the balance is right, so it's actually meaningful. But I'm looking forward to seeing what we can obviously be calling the Washington team for this season, and fingers crossed there is a season, so we can actually find out how this affects them. But yeah, good on them, and looking forward to the change.
So Daniel, obviously there's been a lot of names that have been bandied about. Red Hogs by myself, Red Tails by other people. There's been, because there's a military connection there. So what are your feeling about the actual the name change, and have you got a quick suggestion?
See, Red Hogs firstly is a terrible suggestion whatsoever. So just let's forget that. Hope it doesn't get picked up. Red Tails, the only problem with Red Tails is I can see, going to Sam's point about cancel culture, I can see a group of people not wanting Washington to be named Red Tails simply because of the connotation of the Red Tails with sort of African Americans fighting in World War II, and them being segregated and then being called the Red Tails as a result of that. So I'm not entirely sure. Look, this has been a great thing. I think, the name's been around for 87 plus years. So it's great that, they're now removing it. I think questions need to be asked is, they've already released in the press statement that they've got a name in mind already. So, it's taking you 87 years to now change it, and then all of a sudden you've got a new name. So my question is, so you could have done this from the beginning. You could have done this from the get-go. How is it that now within 2 weeks you've got a whole new name change, whole new identity? It's a bit funny for me. But going to your question, what do I think for a name for Washington? Maybe just remove the red completely. Or maybe you could just say Washington Crimson Braves or something around that. Or
been thinking about that one. I like that.
No, that just came off the top of my head. Or you could just say the Washington Eagles. I mean, not Eagles, sorry, that stuff, but just something else. I just think in terms of what is synonymous with Washington DC and that area, and sort of maybe just go from there. So, but Crimson Braves I like. Washington CBs, you could probably put that way, but that might get complicated in that regards. But I'm really happy that they've decided to do it. You know, as Nat said, and going forward, it's a bit of a criminal. It's been criminally negligent that we've had a group, especially in the Washington capital, in the DC capital, in the American capital, but to have a sports team named after a group of people, whether you think it's right or wrong, whether you know, in terms of the name itself, no other sports team is named after a group of people. I think, you know, you just don't want to get into that level of offense. It's going to cause offense to some people. And like Nat said, even if you have a situation of where people have, you know, for example, you know, you've done the survey, you still got more people still saying it. So the fact that you've got multiple people saying it's offensive, just move on. That's my take.
Makes sense. So let's go all the way to Miami, our resident American over there. Let's see what your views is. Let's go. If you want to
all my UK family for talking about the subject. We appreciate you guys that reached across the pond. You know, so like I said last week on the show, this discussion is just another discussion. Is the race discussion in America. You know, this is just another small topic in terms of it, and the fact that the temperature of today has made Daniel Snyder change his rhetoric about the logo. It's obviously, like he said in the article back in 2007 that Nat said, he didn't care. He didn't care about what anybody said. He didn't care about the history. He was like, yo, this is what we're doing it. And what happens is, for Daniel Snyder, everyone kind of moved on. Yeah, you had a couple columnists and a couple people on TV that wouldn't use the name, but people still went to the games and they still showed love to the Washington football team. I think it's a good move for them to change the name. Not because, because they had a racist name, but they need some new PR. They've been inept. They haven't been good. They made the playoffs last in 2015. Maybe this is a good thing for people to go see who the Washington team really is, and maybe this will give them some power to be able to probably win their division, beat Dallas and the Cowboys, and probably be a part of the NFC East again. Because we forgot. The only reason we talk about the Redskins is because of their name, not because of who they got and how they play. So yes, if the Washington team actually does get better, maybe this new name change will get them to probably get into the playoffs now, you know. And just with the name change, we got to see about other teams now. Like other teams is going to fall down. The Florida State Seminoles, Atlanta Braves, Chicago Blackhawks. Could be a crazy time that we can get in with a lot of teams have to probably change their identity due to their names and a little history lesson that they may have to encounter.
Full disclosure, Chris is a fan, so I noticed that he picked Florida State straight away to them to be able to change their names.
Exactly.
I didn't realize that one at all. That was a nice move, but for our Florida State fans, then you guys got some thinking to do. So let's get into let's go into the NFL. Please God, let there be a season, but we don't know whether they're at the moment. When the season's going to happen, if it's going to happen. Obviously, there's no preseason games at the moment. So I'll start with you, Daniel. With no preseason games at the moment, how do you think, which team would you reckon be most affected?
Just quickly on the preseason thing, I think, like I said sort of before in other episodes, I think it's maybe a bad mistake in that regards, just because you want to have maybe an option to see how you could implement the season. Like I said, with football, focus on the new season, use the preseason as a trial and error to see if it could work with the COVID and what situations from there. So that's my point on that. Which team do I think is going to do well? I think it's the teams that are already settled, settled coach, settled quarterback, settled players, and settled system. So, you look down the trend. Patriots, maybe not. I know you got Bill Belichick, but you still have to implement an offense for Cam, and whether or not Cam can fit well. Tom Brady still needs to implement that offense with Tampa, and the system itself and getting used to that and acclimatizing to that. So I'm not entirely sure that those teams will work. But, when you look at, and even with Dallas, people talk about the Cowboys. I know Dak's been there for a while, but with the whole contracts dispute and a new coach, new system, that might go into against them as well. So I think the teams that are going to go and start to kick off straight away, you got the Chiefs, the Seahawks, you've got the Eagles. I think those are the types of teams that are going to do well off the bat, just because they've got the same coach, the same system, and virtually the same players. And let me throw San Francisco in there as well. So when you have that and you're not really doing much, it's just rhythm. It's just getting into that rhythm and just moving forward and just clocking in. So that's my take on it.
Sam, get in there.
I wouldn't say a team as such, but I feel for every single rookie that is about to join the NFL. From the draft, not being the usual sort of glam, to now having no experience of what those hits are going to be like when you come to NFL. You're going to go straight in, first game, that hit, and when you're on the floor, you better hope that your contract is right. And you'll be saying it's all worth it, because that's all I'm saying. That's all I would be thinking. I think it's now going to be an incredible step for anyone in their rookie season in comparison to anyone else. So really, when you look at the teams that have maybe had quite a few picks, like the Patriots, who did bring in quite a lot of rookies, this is going to be a tough sort of baptism of fire, I suppose, that first game. So will we see a lot of rookies probably actually benched more than we would normally, and we might see them come into the latter parts of the season this year? So I think it will be slightly different there. And anyone that does excel, then hats off to them, because it is going to be a baptism of fire. Plus, they obviously haven't been able to do the reps that they probably wanted to do in the workouts as well, right? So I'd be interested to see how teams obviously integrate that side of the team. In terms of not being able to do it full stop, is this another money issue? Why is there suddenly why not? I know there's obviously a lot of things going on in the States at the moment, but could it not be delayed enough to at least have? I know they were talking about cutting it and having 2 games and things like that. It feels like, from a marketing point of view, the Super Bowl still needs to happen at the time it would normally for all of that issues. Now, I think that's probably the biggest point to this. Why can't the league adjust it so it can still happen? And the entertainment factor, again, even the guys that have been in the league 3-4 years, no preseason to go straight into that first game. If I was a betting man, I wouldn't put any money on anything on the first couple of weeks, because it's going to be all up in the air for me. So rather than a negative spin, I would say actually the positive piece, the underdogs might actually get a fighting chance if they can start fast.
So what you're saying otherwise from that is that the Giants are favourites because of all this craziness.
Absolutely not.
Get off. Move on. No.
Mr. Coombs, what's your view in this whole thing? Are you going to support my Giants?
Absolutely not. I'm going to support Daniel's point about your Giants, that Joe Judge is in that group of new head coaches, whether they're rookie head coaches, whether it's Mike McCarthy at Dallas, as you mentioned. These are teams that are going to have a significant disadvantage. This is an unorthodox preparation. In fact, that is a massive understatement. I think it's been unlike anything the teams. I mean, I suppose the 2011 lockout, which was March to July ostensibly, is the closest thing we can draw to it. But there's so many other things going on here as well. So rookie head coaches for sure. Jay Bell was on my ESPN show the other day, and he was saying there are 2 types of players fundamentally. Those, and this is particularly true of the rookies coming into the league, but I think it's also true of players moving into new systems, in new situations. Players that can look at X's and O's on the board, can look at tape, and can learn and understand, and players that can't, players that need to go through their paces in order for it to go into their minds. And that's not a knock on those players or saying one is better than the other. But at the moment, of course, that is a fundamental disadvantage to those players that are unable to, particularly as well rookies and the speed of the league coming in. That is going to be a massive issue. So you look at a team like Miami that has got a disproportionate number of rookies that are likely to start, plus a lot of new signings, right? You've got Byron Jones, you've got Jordan Howard, Carl Van Noy. These are all sure season pros, but are coming into an organization they don't know, a formation they don't know. Having said all that, so many businesses all around the world have adapted to COVID, to lockdown, to virtual learning, to digital communication. And the NFL is one of the smartest businesses in the world, right? So these teams will have found a way around it as much as they can. I suppose the only other thing, which is to Sam's point, Stefan Diggs' quote in the last couple of days saying there are so many unanswered questions with this upcoming season. I'd be lying if I said I was comfortable starting back up. That is hanging over the majority of players. Some probably don't care, but the majority obviously do. The optics of playing in this environment, just on a personal level, trying to concentrate on a game when there's so much going on in the States at the moment. So that is probably going to be a leveler, as Sam said. I think actually that will probably level the playing field a bit and give the underdogs a better shot than in other seasons.
I saw you, Chris, lighting up soon as Nat said that your Dolphins may stand a chance in this forthcoming season. Before you get too excited. So what's your view?
Well, my view with the Dolphins, in terms of my point is really on what Sam said, in terms of, because I'm thinking about my team and Tula, and he's a rookie. I want him to get in and get as many reps and learn the playbook as much as possible, so that our team could be beneficial off of that. But we won't have that, so that is my number one point. As I thought of that, as the rookies are definitely going to have to struggle, not because they're going to get hit, or they have to go through a training camp. I'll never forget when RG3. After he won rookie offensive rookie of the year, and he got hurt, he took the whole offseason off, and he tried to come back snap one. And we all see what happened that season. And he was already in the league already. So these guys coming into the league with no reps, no preseason, and just to go out there full tilt is definitely going to be hard. The coaches are going to be frustrated. They're going to make mistakes. And so I'm not sure if that would keep that particular organization back, or you just learn and like you said, baptism through fire. Rookie head coaches also. I think anything, and once you change your job, I think this would be the hardest for you, because you don't know what you have until you have it on the field, like Nate said. So I believe rookie head coaches and rookie players. I think the veterans will adapt. I think when you're a vet in the league, just like the bubble in the NBA, the veterans will adapt. They know how to zone in, and they know how to focus on what the goal is, no matter the environment. But I think the rookies will have the hardest time, especially with no reps before they start playing.
Well, hopefully there's an actual season, and for my take, I think that maybe it would be hard on some of the rookies, but then there'll be opportunities for brand new stars to be able to come to fruition. So you never know. But
Andre, Giants. Go Giants. So I crashed your Go Giants. They're perfect.
Yeah, I know.
To perfection. Just on this, and your point about the two of the preseason games getting cancelled already. I think that might stay the same indefinitely going forwards. There is a strong movement, and Sean McVay's amongst the most prominent advocates of less preseason games, more scrimmages. A lot of the vets as well. To Chris's point about that, I agree with that. It's a good point that they're more likely to adapt, of course, and they're also going to probably be benefiting from this type of off season where most of them are probably on the peloton and not doing anything else beyond that. So keeping in shape, but their bodies benefiting from a different preseason and less contact. So yeah. I think that what we'll see going forwards here is a different preseason permanently. A different setup, and maybe the removal entirely of the 4 preseason games going forwards and just seeing scrimmages.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just want to get the season going, and they see these exhibition games anyway. I would say as a bit of nonsense anyway. But we got to move on.
The vets do love this, man. Remember Brett Favre back in the day? He would always sign after preseason. He would always sign with a team after preseason.
Right.
The vets don't like this.
Right.
Let's move on to the NBA. So obviously it's crazy town there with the bubble. Players coming, complaining about where they're staying and what type of Motel 6 apartments that they've got. This privileged life that some of them live. So obviously the bone of contention has actually been the messaging on the jerseys. So what are all of your thoughts on players choosing to have their own name or approved message on the shirts as the NBA new condensed season returns? I'll start with Nat.
I kind of like both sides of this argument, I think, and both sides being the players that want to wear one of the messages that the NBA has designated, and that's obviously a problem for players. Some of the players that don't, like LeBron, wanted to wear his own thing, didn't want to be told or given an option of what to wear and not carry it his own way. So in terms of players that have chosen to take one of the messages, action over words is a sentiment that we've heard a lot in recent weeks, right? Don't just say something, do something. And the NBA's done that. if just one person sees one of the messages of social justice on the back of a shirt and asks the question, whether it's a kid, whether it's a grandfather, whether it's a lawyer, doesn't matter who it is. If somebody asks, why is that player wearing that message? Ask themselves why that player is wearing that message. Asks and wants to understand why it's there. Creates that discussion, creates that awareness, empowers that education, and it affects the mindset of that person and other people going forwards in a positive way. Then it's a good thing. It has to be a good thing. And it is action. We're seeing the NBA taking action. At the same time, I respect LeBron, Anthony Davis as well. I think has come out and said he doesn't want to wear one of the jerseys. The NBA, one of the messages the NBA said that their players can. I respect that as well. It's a deeply personal subject, and he wants to approach it in his way. And those people critiquing LeBron James, incidentally, for this, which astonishing, almost as ridiculous to me as those people saying, well, there are people that don't mind the Redskins nickname. Look up the LeBron James Family Foundation. Just go and look it up. I won't go into deep numbers. Just go and Google it, look up what the LeBron James Family Foundation has done. Action and not words. So criticizing LeBron James to me is deeply unfair.
I better change something. The next thing I was going to say.
You're about to lay into LeBron.
He's a bona fide hater of LeBron.
There we go. Come on,
Daniel, get in there.
Look, just picking up on Nat's point of view, people that are criticizing LeBron, I mean, first of all, why? I mean, the guy's doing a lot for what he believes in. He's, built his own school from scratch. So, for me, I just don't feel you have a reason to criticize him based on that. And I think going into the deeper issues about the jersey, look, I'm not going to criticize any player who wants to wear their approved messages from the NBA. I think it's a little bit hypocritical from the NBA to say to guys, look, we advocate your platform to say what you want to say, but then only it's got to be approved by us. And I think it's a bit tricky, because then that gets to the point where it's like, okay, so you can wear what you want to wear on your backs, but we have to only this selection. It's like, well, you're not really giving us much freedom. And then also with the messaging, you guys know where I stand. Actions, not gestures. Wearing multiple slogans on the back, I think it dilutes the message. It confuses the message, because if I'm a kid, that guy's got maybe Black Lives Matter, that guy's got justice, that guy's got peace, and then I'm struggling to process that in a world that's really confusing with a lot of nuances and a lot of complexities to then now digest multiple people wearing multiple different things, and you're just trying to also focus on basketball. I think it then becomes tricky. I'm not going to criticize anyone who's against it or for it. It's just, it does become a bit tricky. And I think, like I said in the beginning, and I've said it multiple times, streamline your message, be a bit coherent in what you want, focus on one thing at a time. And like I said, if I was the players, I would have pushed for a different course of action, actual tangible actions and results, because 10 years from now, if the players go to their kids and they say, Dad, what have you done to fight injustice? All I can say is, I had a slogan on the back of my jersey. That's it. Like that. What else? So that's where I stand.
Sam, what's your view?
Well, the cost of what it's going to do to print up all of these shirts, etc., different people. Why don't they use that funding to create an action? That's one part. And just like you said, this, like everyone's just said, and I think the message is clear outside of these organisations, is people are getting a bit tired of these little gestures. Like, even like to a point where I know it's great having Black Lives Matter put on a street, which is great, but we've also seen the negative side where people are then splashing paint over it and trying to distract from that. I'd rather see an action again where, coming back to like the educational piece, could the NBA put a bit of a foundation piece to educate? Not only that, both the NFL and the NBA are made up for predominantly black players. So why they should really be pushing that and helping these guys, even to a point where it's, okay, here's what we're going to do. Each of you come up with a foundation and we'll contribute to that and help that message. the shirt, yes, okay, it's nice, it's great, but is it really delivering anything? You could almost have the shirts and something. It's like we're waiting, everyone's waiting for the and something. So I'd like to see a bit more of that. There may be other things that they do, and I know, to be honest, I know that NFL do things and the NBA, but it'd be an ideal time to put something in lights, and they are at Disneyland after all. So it would have been nice to maybe put something in lights there. So I've got nothing against any of the players having their own name. And fingers crossed, obviously, yeah, we do move on and maybe see a few more actions from the organisations itself.
I saw Sam straightening out his message at the end because he loves his corporate seats. Chris, get in there.
Yeah, I know we talk about the players and what the players should be doing, and I think a lot of times a lot of pressure is on the players, to speak their message about a message that I don't think. Yes, they can champion, but I don't think it's their job to champion that Black Lives Matter. I think that's the organization, and I think it should come from there. I would love to see more of the organization instead of their dollars. Obviously, get into their communities and probably champion for some lobbyists to actually change things in Washington that we can get things passed. Like we know these rich billionaire owners have play, over the football. Like this thing that confuses us is like Stephen Ross, who's a friend of Donald Trump, but then also has a RISE program for Black people. So sometimes you can get convoluted like the NBA. You have a message, but just what we're going to tell you to put on. So a lot of times we love the love that some of these organizations are giving us, but then there's a confused message by who's giving it, And so what are these players supposed to do? So for the LeBron James and the Anthony Davis, I understand that they want to put their own name on because they're doing things in their communities to actually have change. A slogan on the back of their jersey for James, I says, it's like, maybe it'll be good, but the messaging that I want to put on my jersey, I can't. So I'm just going to put my messaging in the community and so on and so forth. Big shout out to Kyle Korver. He's going to make sure that he has Black Lives Matter on the back of his jersey. Said it was an easy decision, moving forward. So, and I would like to see a lot of the white guys that get to play around these messages that these Black guys may not have a voice, and then go ahead and say, hey, man, these are my teammates. These are my brothers. I'm going to go ahead and show love. So I think for them, it's pretty cool, the Dragic's and and all those guys that play this game and see where that messaging goes. But we have to stay on message. Whether you choose it or to wear it or not, we have to stay on message. So the fact that all the NBA guys and all the little bits that are going to come from it, the pictures and so on, I think it'll be pretty moving for the next generation.
Good. I mean, everything seems like it's moving in the right direction. Obviously, I'm a bit concerned about the messaging. Too many messages. I think it would be, but then obviously it can't be like fabricated, more so like the Premier League, making everyone do the same stances. Because I think personally it wears off after a while and people don't really listen. I think that I think there's got to be a new ways to be able to keep people interested, keep the movement going. So fingers crossed that LeBron doesn't make it all by himself, and then we'll be happy.
You need to get over your LeBron hate, man. You need to get over your LeBron
hate. Daniel said the man's built a school. He's built a school.
Yeah. How are you hating that? How are you hating?
So what we do is every week we look at our stories of our personal stories of the week that we all kind of look at and it pulls our heartstrings or gets our attention. So I will start off with Sam. What is your story of the week this week?
My story of the week is actually something that grinds my gears a little bit. Actually, something that we don't speak enough about is soccer, football. Man City, financial fair play.
Ooh.
What is it? What is financial fair play? Does it exist? Because clearly it doesn't. Not only did they get their 2-year ban overturned, even though there was clear evidence and they were found guilty of it, they had their fine reduced. So 10 million euros to a sheikh that owns multiple teams and organisations is like one of us finding 10p down the sofa. It's got me. And I'm an Arsenal fan, so I can't even speak about Europe so these days. But I'm saying for everyone else, it's actually a bit of a kick, and it kind of worries me. But to link it back to sort of the American sports, I think it's now time that there's got to be some cap somewhere, whether it's salaries or what we spend. There's got to be something, and it's just clear, not guidelines, but clear rules, because it's just getting outrageous. Or just have nothing and just go free for all, and we just see some crazy like dream teams, because it's pointless. I can't deal with it anymore. I just want to know what's coming.
It's a very one of the few times that I'm completely alongside Sam. I'm with you on that one.
Maybe I should retract what I just said.
It's too late now. It's on the record. Dan, what have you got?
Well, Sam took my little nugget for the week. Wanted to talk about that as a United fan as well, particularly because we earn our money. But no, I'll go with Russell Westbrook. The fact that he's now got COVID-19, he's been tested positive. Him and Harden. Well, it's not really sure what Harden's got, if he's received it or if he's quarantined himself. He hasn't really come out and said anything. But I think with that, I think it's now brought home to a lot of people that, there was a bit of nervousness whether the NBA season will resume, whether it will restart. I think it still will go ahead. I think the financial implications of it not going ahead far outweighs the implications of it going ahead as well. But I think it just goes to the point of the Houston Rockets, just them as a playoff team, as a contender now. I think that they're going to be hamstrung not having Westbrook. I think also maybe not having James Harden as well. So, I don't, whether, you thought the Rockets were going to go far is one thing, but I don't even think they might not even get past the first round now, because we don't know how long Russell's going to stay out. We don't know how serious his situation is. Even if he's out for the next 2 weeks, the start of the season, and then you've got to get back into gear. It's only 8 games and then playoffs. So I think, Houston season is basically done. I'm not trying to, no offense to my fellow Houston Rockets fans, but I think your season's done. Now that Westbrook's out, Harden's effectively out as well until he says otherwise. Your season's effectively done. Like let's work on the new season.
Well, Houston Rockets fans, please, look down below and you will see, Dan's social platform where you can actually contact him and give him your views personally. Chris, what's the story that stuck out to you this week?
It's more than the story. It's just about keeping the movement going. It seemed like after we had a lot of momentum. It seemed like over the last couple of weeks over in the culture, it seemed like we have a whole bunch of distractions that we love, to drum up that silence the movement. Whether it's Jada Pinkett in an entanglement, or T.I. and 50 Cent just wanting to battle all the time, and we tend to sometimes stay off the message. But one person that I am going to show love that's staying on message and pushing the full conversation forward is Deshaun Jackson. I'm not going to lie. We killed him last week. We beat him up for his tweet and what he put out there in terms of what he said from Hitler. But I'm not going to lie. So, a Holocaust survivor reached out to him. 94-year-old Edward Mossberg reached out to him and said, "Hey, man, why don't you guys come and see the concentration camp?" And Deshaun obliged, and he's going to go ahead and go. He's going to learn, and he's going to have a conversation that he probably was ignorant about. And then him and Edward can talk about the civil rights and other things. And those are the conversations that I think that are powerful and that will help us move forward. And I do believe sports has a big role in that. We might say people need to shut up and dribble or stay in their lane, but sports is what really brings the country together, and I think by Deshaun Jackson taking this invitation, I think it's a big picture, a big move for him to learn and enlighten himself about another culture, and so that you are heard about yours. So that's what I would say. Let's just keep the momentum going and see where we can come out with this.
Well, the fact that the owner of the team that he plays for is Jewish himself, so I'm sure that had something to his enlightening moment.
Cynical.
Yeah. Nat, what's your story that sticks out to you?
I'm going to Cam Newton. So Cam Newton hasn't given an official media interview yet, but was involved in a YouTube thing with Odell and other players, and said some pretty interesting things. Firstly, he said, Coach Josh McDaniels, you're going to be able to call some stuff now you ain't ever been able to call before, which I thought, just dropping a grenade. The other thing he said as well, the team that passed, he's looking at the schedule, right? The team that passed on me, okay, that team passed on me. Who are we playing? That team passed on me. They could have come and got me. He's already talking a big game, which it's got to be exciting. I know the jury is out on how Cam Newton's going to fare. Is Cam Newton even going to start? It's not necessarily a given that he will start with the Patriots. Having said that, the fact that there is this possibility of Cam Newton regaining anything close to his MVP form in an organization which I think everybody has been really, really quick to write off. And Chris, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan as well from all the way over here. So it gives me no pleasure whatsoever in saying the Patriots are going to be stronger than many people are suspecting. I don't even know if it is clear that they haven't bought into Jarrett Stidham, seeing as they've talked that game for a long time, and there is a precedent there. They've been down that road before where an unheralded, untried quarterback turns out to be lights out. So we don't even know if Cam's going to start, but based on what you're saying in this, based on his fighting talk coming out, it is a really exciting narrative going into this NFL season. One final thing on this, by the way, just on Josh McDaniels. So I'm reading this book at the moment, which is called Collision Low Crosses by a guy called Nicholas Davidoff. It's all about the Jets 2011 season, right? When Rex Ryan was the head coach. And Mike Tannenbaum's in it quite a lot. He was in the front office of the Jets then. He comes on my show quite a lot because he's at ESPN across the pond. And there are some, this guy's got a year's access to the Jets. So there's great things in here that I'm going to be throwing at Mike Tannenbaum next time. One really brilliant thing, right in the early doors in the book, they're at the Combine. He doesn't attribute this. He keeps this all anonymous, but he's talking about all the quotes he heard in the bar at the Combine. And one of the quotes was, Josh McDaniels thinks he invented football. Which I thought was great. Whoever said that as a Dolphins fan, I salute you. But in all seriousness, Cam Newton and Josh McDaniels could be a really exciting combo. So I'm looking forward to
that. I'm like, you know what? Actually, I'm never really been like a Cam fan before, but I think I'm quite interested to see, you know, what he accomplishes there. Well, yeah. I'm minimizing what I normally do say, but because I do like Sam does, I love our corporate seats. So, but yeah, I'm actually kind of rooting for him because I did feel bad for him as someone of his caliber, you know, someone who's just previously been an MVP, been in the Super Bowl, all these things just getting passed up upon. So, You've got a new fan, Cam. You've got a new fan.
And
it's not because you're 3 times my size. It's because I'm really cool. Nat, can you tell us where we can find you? Tell us about your podcast and your social and so forth.
I expect to see a Cam Newton jersey up there next week, by the way, on now you said it, right? Yeah, exit stage left. So the Nat Coombs show is my ESPN show, which during the season drops 3 times a week in the off season, slightly less, but we've been pushing a lot of stuff out there. And that is me and a lot of voices from the NFL UK scene, but also a lot of voices from across the pond as well. Part of the ESPN Galaxy. It's a lot of fun, and we cover all kinds of stuff and aim to have a lot of fun with it as well as breaking down the news. So it's good fun. I'm on there, all good podcatchers, and at Nat Coombs on social media.
Honestly, we really do appreciate you joining us, and we hope you had a good time.
Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
The normal band of friends here. Thank you guys for your time, and thank you to the listeners who put up with us. And we've actually got a professional in, so hope you stuck around for the show. No, but thank you very much, and I'm gonna go and get myself entangled with curry. All right, thanks again, guys.
Till our next entanglement.
See you next time.